Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Chelsea Glade. She's a licensed mental health counselor and certified clinical trauma professional. She's the founder of Feel to Heal Counseling. Chelsea does not believe that there is only one path to healing. She's always striving to evolve and learn new and creative ways to help her clients. So that caught my attention in your bio. I usually don't read the entire bio. Yeah, this is the idea of having many paths to healing, to feel better, to self-understanding, self-knowledge. I guess I will start with that question instead of the one of who you are in your own words. I'll
Uh,
ask you that after. So for some people, it is spirituality. It has been my path. For some reason, I didn't choose therapy. So talk to me about people like myself. Is that enough to really feel complete, whole, and lead a healthy life, Chelsea?
yeah, I think it can be a combination. I think it's really everyone's journey is unique. And so
Yeah.
when I am with a client in a session, it is about collaborating together. How are we going to uh, get you to a place where you do feel healed and fulfilled?
Yeah.
And that doesn't always have to be therapy for people, and that's okay. I encourage that. If this isn't working, that's okay. Let's find what works best for you. And I think that it can be enough.
Yeah.
It's just something that you have to find for yourself instead of looking for some sort of external answer.
Yes. 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 A billion times to that.
Mm.
I have found to be very helpful learning about psychology, just reading a lot and talking to so many people. I have learned so much. It has helped me a lot. From the body mind, let's say, levels, and the practical, experiential kind of day to day living, that's where I apply that knowledge. But my fundamental truth is that I'm already whole, I'm already complete. There is nothing to be added, really. It's almost like a feeling of safety to go there and explore the other parts that feel incomplete, feel limiting. So I guess that's how I see it. And it has been working. It has
Yeah.
been fun, actually, to just see how interesting it is, the idea of trauma, even how it can linger, it can just stay with you. We talked briefly off record. So the traumas I had, I still feel them coming and going. That's another question that I usually ask. Do we ever heal completely from those traumatic experiences?
I think all of our experiences shape us and we carry them with us. I kind of like to describe it as a scar. It's something that
Yeah.
you
Huh.
will have, and
Yeah.
it shapes our view of the world, and it filters the way that we interact with other people. Uh, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a bad thing. I think being a survivor is something that can be a catalyst into whatever your purpose is.
Mm, right. Yes. You see, this is something that it's almost beyond trust, the idea that I am life itself. I don't have a life, I am life. So whatever has happened, whatever is happening, it's just life doing what it does in the sense of always looking for harmony, kind of trying
Mm.
to find itself, as part of the whole, that sense of completeness again. So
Yes.
I guess I just surrendered to that. I think that the word is not even trust, it's more of giving this body mind to it. Okay, so it's fine to be the way it is. And there's no fighting. I'm not fighting what is happening.
I mean, you said it perfectly. I think you're absolutely right that you have to surrender. I do see that a lot with people that I work with, is that they're fighting this current,
Yeah.
and it's about letting go.
Yeah, that has helped me a lot from those levels. Yeah, body, mind, that sense of, oh, it's still here. Instead of getting frustrated, I just let it come and go, and I watch it. So, has been, has been a fascinating journey. A painful one though, for a long time.
Yes, very painful.
Yeah, we know that, right? How painful it
Mhm.
can be. So going back, Chelsea, to that question that I wanted to ask you, and I usually ask everyone, and you did give me the answer off record, but I'll ask you
Mhm.
again so the audience can hear.
Sure.
So if you would introduce yourself in this moment, who are you?
Yeah, so we were talking about that, like you said, off record, and
Yeah,
I was doing a lot of self-reflecting, which I like to do regularly anyway. But I was thinking about how I'm going to answer that question, asking
yeah,
people for feedback, and I think my son, he's 4, he had the best response. He said, "Mommy, you're love."
yeah,
I said, "You're right. That's what I want to embody. That's who I am right now on this journey. I want to be someone that is a safe space for people, that I love unconditionally and accept people for who they are, where they're at in life."
yes. Ah, what's not to love about that? Using that
Yeah,
same word, right? And
yeah,
I wonder if your children, do they have the same ideas of love that we do? Did you ask them what
yeah,
is love to you?
yeah. We were talking about that because I talk to my children about feelings a lot. We have
Yeah,
times every day. How are you feeling? What do we do with big feelings? Things like that, and asking about what love is. Well, you love is when mommy reads me books.
mm,
Love is when Papa plays cars with me, or
mm.
it's they have this sense of quality time is what I hear a lot of.
Yes, that's one of the messages that keep coming back to me. Not just from those spiritual understandings I have, but also talking to so many people from different backgrounds. This idea of being present to what is present, being here, and this timeless, placeless here. It's just giving yourself to this moment, whatever is present, being true to what is here. So that keeps coming back to me as a powerful message. And I know a lot of times we can't always be in the moment per se.
Mm.
We have planning to do, especially I can imagine you as a mother. So how do we learn to balance that, Chelsea? Using the mind to plan and to remember the past and all that, but and at the same time being aware that the place that where happiness per se and peace really is it's here and not anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that that's part of everyone's journey that can be so hard, right? Is it's a
Yeah.
daily thing. It's not
Yes.
a destination of, oh, I'm healed, everything's great,
Mm,
and I don't
yes.
have to be mindful anymore. I mean, even myself, I find myself, uh, I do a lot of talking to myself,
Huh?
that
Yes.
having that inner voice and inner conversations of, oh, Chelsea, you're not being present. You don't want to miss this moment. Even little things like during the bedtime routine, I'm so tired and I'm reading these books and I'm not even really here, and something inside of me says, be present. You don't want to miss this.
Mm,
So I think in the beginning, it's setting aside time every day and creating that habit.
yeah.
And then eventually you'll just have this internal voice or internal clock that will say, oh, it's time to be mindful. Don't forget to be mindful.
It's a huge concept that for a lot of people it's abstract. Even when people in my family, when I talk to them, they don't understand what is to be present. But
Right.
for those who do, I would say, including myself, there's something about this idea of peace, the inner peace. Everything else disappears, dissolves, and then you just in this placeless, timeless, whatever it is, that
Mm-hmm.
feels really good. Like wow. So it's very peaceful for that reason too. When we try to kind of listen to our own breath and the activities of the body, it's so
Yeah.
peaceful, it's so
Yeah.
quiet, subtle. So I guess that that contemplation gives that sense of peace to the mind that's always everywhere.
Yes.
What is your idea of freedom? What is freedom to you, Chelsea?
I think what you said is having that internal peace. That is freedom that a lot of people don't experience. And a lot of people will say, I just don't know how to get that. It
Yeah,
feels so complicated. And it's quite simple, but people overthink it and overcomplicate it,
yeah,
that it needs to be, I need to move mountains, I need to do these huge things in order to feel this peace. you don't. You just need to connect with your body and be
Mm,
present in the moment and just look up and look around.
yeah. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God, I love the
Mhm.
word, the idea, the concept, and everything else that goes with simple.
Mhm.
There's so much truth behind that. Even when some people say, oh, when I ask them, what three experiences you wish everyone to have before they die? And some people say, just to enjoy the simple things. And that always resonates true to
Yes.
me. Like, wow, there's so much truth there. So the topic today for our conversation, I know we have this introductory conversation, will be unhealthy coping strategies in developing awareness. So I guess the question for you is, what would be a good example of that? Because I was trying to come up with questions, and then that was the question that came to me.
Well, and it also ties back to that inner peace that you're talking about and how people complicate it. And people complicate it by using these unhealthy coping skills that make it so much harder to connect with your body because they're trying to dissociate from
Mm,
trauma or feeling those really painful emotions that they want to avoid through substance use, drinking, through
yeah.
eating or gambling or um, not connecting with people, isolating. That's something that a lot of people do is isolate and uh, avoid relationships, which are so important to have.
Yes.
Um, and it makes things more complicated when it should be more simple to
Mm,
just be present. You can't really be present if you're drunk or high or, you know.
right. Yes. Yes. A billion times of that truth. Yes. And I wrote it down here, dissociation, disconnection to one's body and feelings and emotions. Yes, I used to do that a lot because it was so painful that I had to find
Mm,
things to do. In my case, was relationships, and it was, well, I was married twice, so it was not like in different relationships, but I was in long term relationships, in marriages that I was not really happy, and but I was staying there because it made me feel secure, like safe somehow.
mm,
And then also working, just feeling it was the only way to feel loved or to find that sense of love was just doing something so other people could see value in me, could love me back for it. So it's really sad when I think about it too.
mhm.
So when it comes to this connection, especially with substance abuse, like alcohol, as you mentioned, drugs and all that, would you say men tend to do that more than women, or both of us are equally guilty when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think it's across the board that people would rather be or stay in toxic familiarity than
Yeah,
healthy uncertainty. And
yeah,
it's such a norm in our society to numb ourselves, and it's even encouraged. And so when I started my
yeah,
sober curious journey and then eventually did decide to just be sober, um,
yeah.
it really opened my eyes to how toxic our society is with these unhealthy coping mechanisms that they push.
Yeah, that's sad too. When you think about it too, I use the word sad because that's for some reason the feelings that come to me. I see the underlying core feeling is always sadness. When I get
Yes.
upset about something or injustice, it's always sadness. So which has connected with depression. I remember being feeling depressed for so long too
Mm.
for that reason. So in this case, what are they trying to do, like society as a whole? Um, why are they trying to encourage people to numb their feelings? I have heard so many theories on that, but I would love to hear your take on this
Yeah.
idea.
I think it started as a uneducated beginning of just not knowing
Yes.
how to do it. And so they think, oh, well, this is the solution. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And I hear that a lot from older generations of, well, we
Mm,
didn't talk about it. We weren't allowed to talk about it. And I think now we're creating more of a space for that in the
yeah.
mental health field, which
Yeah.
I love. And
Yeah.
I think that that's where the sober curious uh, journey began. which I just think is great.
Yeah.
But old habits die hard.
Yeah.
And I think people see it as a quick fix, and it's just putting a band-aid on a bullet hole. There isn't a long-term solution in that numbing.
Yeah. How do we try to communicate these, our own desire to help others, especially those close to us? Because we are not therapists. That would be, I mean,
Mhm.
I would ask you too, how do you do that as
Mhm.
a therapist yourself? How do we balance, not trying to push anything on anyone?
Right, right. And that is so hard. Yes, you
I
hit the
can
nail on the
imagine.
head. I do a lot of internal talking to
Yeah.
myself of, no, Chelsea, that's not your place. You're not a therapist right here. But uh, yeah, I think it's okay to express worry to the people that we love and care about.
Yeah.
Uh, and like you said, I preach balance all the time.
Yes.
So there's a balance between uh, letting people live their life the way that they want to. I think people have that autonomy to choose how they want to live their life, and if that's how you want to live it, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to watch you, like you said, suffer. That's not okay, and that's super painful. Someone that loves you to watch you suffer. So coming from a place of love, I would say I'm worried about you. What's going on? Or
Yeah.
I do a lot of, how are you feeling right now?
Mm,
Or are you
mm,
okay? Or
yeah.
what are you needing? Ask yourself, what do you need? A
Yes.
lot of us are just trying to self-soothe, and I get that because many people weren't taught that growing up of how to soothe themselves. And so they reach for things that are easy, comfort food, alcohol. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I love that question. And I often ask that, how are you feeling? But then I often hear the answer is always, the one that constructed one, I'm fine.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know where to go beyond that. Then it
Hmm.
is a conversation stopper per se. It just puts an end there, like, okay. So any suggestions, Chelsea, on that? I'm fine. And then they just dot. And then what do you do? What do you say?
Yeah, depending on the person, the people that I've worked with for a long time, I just give them a look where they know what I mean when I look at them. And
Yeah.
then sometimes you can challenge them of, well, your behavior says otherwise,
Hmm. Yeah.
or opening it up saying, I can see that you're not fine. And I'm asking because I genuinely want to know. A lot of people just ask how are you? And
Yeah.
they don't really mean that. They're not really opening it up to want to be vulnerable and have a deep conversation. So they have this statement that they just always say of, I'm fine, or things are good.
Yes.
So I think sometimes it's helpful to say, no, I genuinely want to know how you're feeling. You don't look like you're fine.
Hmm. Yes, I like that. I'll try that next time.
Hmm.
Hopefully works. Yeah, I'll try that next
Hmm.
time. What inspired you to become a therapist, Chelsea?
Such a great question. It's really funny. My parents told me I started talking about becoming a therapist when I was 5 or 6.
Wow.
I don't know why. I had this sense of, I want to be a therapist. And that was that. That was my direction. And
Mm.
I'm sure you've experienced this too. When you were younger, you just thought that your thoughts and your life and the way you were raised was normal, and everyone was raised
Yeah.
that way. Everyone has those thoughts. Everyone has those same
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
Uh, but having that strong sense of direction of what you want to do, I guess not a lot of people have that. And so that was surprising for me when I started working with people and they were saying, I feel so lost. I have no idea what I want to do.
Yeah.
And luckily, I've had this uh, grounding sense of, this is my purpose. Not only is it something that I'm passionate about and I love to do, I wake up excited coming to work.
Yeah.
It's something
Yeah.
that I'm actually good at too. And I feel very lucky and blessed that I have that, because it's a lot of people don't. And
Yeah.
that makes me feel like you said, it makes me feel sad. I want people to wake up excited to go to work and feel that they're living their passion and purpose.
Yeah. Ah, I love to hear that. That makes me think about past lives. So I guess that's a good time to ask you about spirituality. What are your ideas of spirituality?
Yeah, so I've definitely had a journey with that too. I was raised Christian,
Yeah.
I have Catholic and Presbyterian in my family, and I was growing up and I just started asking questions. It doesn't make, that doesn't make sense or that doesn't fit. So for a little while, I completely pushed it out of, well, I'm just an atheist. I don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
And that was more of just, I think, me dissociating from my spirituality, not wanting to connect deeper to it and understand it better, because it can be a topic that's hard to describe or explain if you're unsure.
Yes, for sure.
I definitely, from my work with people, have a feeling of we're all connected, and I believe in an afterlife for sure. We all have this spirit that goes somewhere, and I do believe in karma. I have seen that, and believe that what we do does matter.
Yes, the idea of spirituality, that's a beautiful one, though, the way you described. And very simple, too. And that's what I love about simplicity when it comes to complex topics like spirituality or religion. Yes, that everything is connected, but it's almost beyond connected.
Mm,
It's one, it's a whole, it's a, yeah, there's no even parts to it, but it feels like
mhm.
it from the perspective of the mind, because the mind wants to know. So this is a very good experience to have, to dance with the ideas of knowing things. Look at this. This is Chelsea, and this is the microphone. So I think it's
Yes.
fun. That's what it makes fun to be a human. So it gives me and those who realize this idea, this philosophy, if we can call it that, to me is the truth. It's exactly what you said. And if we live from that perspective, it really, really changes everything because you perceive the world completely different. This is experience called
Yes.
life. It changes everything. For me, has been the case. Do you want to make a comment on that, Chelsea?
Yeah, I think we want to label things and understand things on a deeper level, and sometimes things aren't. I guess I would use the word abstract. Things are more abstract or harder
Mm,
to grasp.
yeah,
So it's more of a feeling. That spirituality is a really this deep feeling and deep connection
yes.
that is personal and different for everyone. But yeah, it's so beautiful as well.
Ah, so another question for you. I mean, those the questions I have here, they were like the initial questions.
Mhm.
I'll ask you this one too because it has to do with what you do, and it's part of the human experience as a whole. How do you make sense of suffering? What are the main cause of our suffering?
Yeah, so the way that I explain it is that pain has purpose.
Yeah,
Pain teaches us. So if you put your hand on a stove and it's hot and you pull it away, oh, well, I know that that's hot. I'm not going to touch it again. And suffering is when you lay your hand on top of the stove and you leave it there.
yeah.
So sometimes our suffering is of our own making because we don't pull ourselves out of it.
Wow.
We think that someone's going to come and pull our hand off of the hot stove, and you need to wake up and realize you have to pull your hand off of that stove, even if you weren't the one to put your hand there. So if
Yeah.
someone
Hmm.
hurt you and you have this deep mistrust of people and attachment issues, trauma, abandonment, someone did that to you, and that's not your fault.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the healing is your responsibility,
Mm.
and you have to
Yeah.
take responsibility for that healing journey of, okay, well, now I'm going to take my hand off the stove and not suffer anymore.
It's almost like a sense of freedom from the heart. When I think about what you said about this idea of purpose, waking up in the morning, it just makes me smile. The heart opens. So there's something about that that's more powerful, or perhaps equally powerful, to surviving. I don't know. I think this joy, per se, this feeling that comes from the heart of knowing that you are on the right path, that you are, this is like being here with you now, having this conversation. I know with every cell in my body that this is where I'm supposed to be. So if I die a second, if I die here, I'll die
Mm-hmm.
happy. Like, oh, this is it. Because I'm doing
Exactly.
exactly what I want to do. I am where I want to be with the body, mind, and spirit. So yeah, that's how I see that. I don't know if that was clear though.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So going back to, oh yeah, another question for you, Chelsea, about
Mhm.
the idea of mental health, so being mentally
Mm.
healthy. How would you define that?
Yeah. Um, it's definitely, I say this often, it's definitely a journey and something that you should be evolving and growing. It's something that you do daily. It's not you just check the box. You have
Yeah.
to actively be present while you're doing it.
Yes.
And everybody is different with what they need to be mentally healthy. But when I think of someone that is mentally healthy, it's someone that is taking care of their body and mind and spirit and
Oh,
is able to communicate and express their feelings appropriately, has healthy relationships, uh, and can also be honest when they're not doing fine.
mm,
I think it's the difference between the person that says, "Oh, I'm fine," and the person that says, "You know what? No, I'm not doing fine. I need to reach out because that's what I need." That's something that
mm,
I personally do. If I'm
mm,
going through a hard time, relationships are incredibly important to me, and I have been blessed with a wonderful support system of family and friends. And but I reach out to my mom, and my mom and I are extremely close. And so I'll just reach out. I'm going through a really hard time. And she just
yeah.
listens. And she's there. And it's very healing for me. And that's part of your mental health journey is realizing, okay, I have this feeling. What do I need in this moment to self-soothe?
Right. And being open to it, being courageous enough,
Yes,
honest, right? It
absolutely.
takes courage. I know it does. So
Hmm.
your idea of mental health is just a beautiful one. It's not about perfection, right, Chelsea,
Mm,
as you clearly said.
absolutely.
So going back to, gosh, I have so many questions here. Yeah. Would that be the goal of healing? I guess it's one of my questions to you. So you just beautifully defined mental health. Would you say that that's the same as the goal of healing? Is that what healing might look like in the end?
Healing is just that internal peace that you can feel when you feel safe inside of your body and
Yeah,
you love yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly,
yeah, yeah,
and you're willing to be vulnerable and open and share that and show someone that.
yeah.
I think that's the healing part.
Yes. So recently, not that recent, I think it was about 6 months ago, somebody sent me a book. And I didn't get to interview him, but he talked about trauma in a way that I never heard before. The questions that he asked. So I'm like, ow. And I'm always kind of keeping these questions here to ask therapists because in
Mhm.
psychologists, people in the mental health field, because it's a fascinating one when I read, it resonated with me. So the first question was, what happens to a person as they experience trauma? I think that's an important question because those who are experiencing trauma actually have recently, they might not have words to express or they don't even know what that looked like. So I would love for you to describe that experience.
Right. So we have our fight or flight response, and now they added the freeze. So it's fight, flight, or freeze response. And I like to describe it as, when you were an infant, we have a detector that tells us who is safe and who is not safe.
Right.
So when like we see a stranger, we might cry, or when we see our caregiver, we smile. Even at such a young age, we can distinguish what's safe and what's not. And so when someone is experiencing trauma,
Right.
when they later develop PTSD, it's they can't distinguish what's safe and what's not anymore. So their fight or flight response is on all the time,
Right.
and it's very much like a like a car where you have the gas that's just go,
Right.
and you're just pressing on that gas. and you are in this state of fear and hypervigilance constantly, which is very unhealthy.
Right.
And that's where the healing comes in, is okay, you have to feel safe inside your body, and we have to work that out in your brain so that you can take your foot off that gas.
Yeah. Some people call it, as you know, is that the nervous system is dysregulated. So it's out of, yeah, it feels that way. I was just afraid for no reason. So,
Mm.
I mean, it was just so sad. Yes. Um, Another question is, are we in control when we are being traumatized? Is the brain able to stop the perhaps the consequences of that trauma? What can we do if we become aware that we are being traumatized? We are living trauma experience.
Yes, absolutely. So that we don't develop PTSD later
Right.
on.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. The key is to get into therapy as early as you can, or having a relational connection. So our first response usually is to isolate,
Right.
and that's something that we don't want to do. We want to have that connection with someone,
Yeah.
and uh, and to talk about it, right? I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
important too, is that we don't uh, silence ourselves, which is what a lot of people do.
So we don't really have control, right, Chelsea, in that moment
Mm-mm,
when the trauma is occurring. There's no
no.
really, we can't do anything about it.
Mm-mm.
Uh, yeah. So that was another question. The other one is, it was, yeah. I'll read the way he phrased it. When the trauma cycle results in people becoming violent and abusive later on in life, are they fully in control of their choices and decisions? I guess what he's getting into here was, because if we are not in control of being traumatized, so are we in control of our behaviors, our behaviors that come from traumatic experiences? That's his question.
Yes, yes. I mean, when you're being triggered, your frontal lobe shuts off, and that's where your reasoning is.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's understandable why you would have those behaviors, but it's not excusable.
right.
So you really, when you realize, oh, I'm being abusive, I'm harming people, and it's very true. Hurt people hurt people. That is true, and very understandable. But it's not excusable, and
Yeah,
it's something
yeah,
that you need to realize and work through. It's very similar to when my daughter's 2, and she has a lot of temper tantrums now because she's struggling to communicate, or she doesn't like the word no, and
yeah,
so she will
yeah.
throw herself down and have these really big emotions, and that's okay to have those big feelings.
Right.
I don't do any sort of consequences for that. I'm not going to punish you for having big feelings, but if you throw something or you hit me,
Uh,
that's you can't do that. That's not okay.
so you do talk to her about that. She
Yes.
understands that.
Yes, we don't hit mommy. That's not okay.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. I just, from my own experience, I remember not having, feeling like I had no choice when
Mm,
it came to my decisions to make the choice I made, the bad ones. It felt like I had no choice at all, especially going into the fire. As you said, was not so dysregulated that I would run into dangerous situations and be around dangerous people without having that intuition. It seems like I had lost touch with my connection with my intuition. I could not trust my intuition. Isn't it sad too?
yes.
Yeah, it felt very much like that.
Hmm.
No self-trust. So now it feels very different. Like, wait a minute, I can trust myself now. What a huge difference. Another question is, from that on trauma, is why do some trauma survivors become abusers and others don't?
Well, I've been reading a lot about. Have you read the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents?
I don't know that book.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yes, you should read it. And it's
Huh.
It talks about how you're raised and how that can create attachment issues because there are parents that are emotionally immature
Yeah.
and can create all sorts of problems. But that made me think about it depends on how you were raised.
Mm,
It depends on your temperament and personality.
yeah.
And some people, like you said, hurt themselves. They go internally and hurt themselves, or
Right.
they hurt others. And I think it stems from childhood, is what I usually see from people that are become abusers. Um, and it's like we were talking about earlier, that victim mindset where it's
Yes.
everyone else's fault,
Right.
or
Yeah.
that survivor mindset of I'm going to take responsibility for my healing and break the cycle of trauma.
Yeah. I really thought that spirituality would change everything. Once we realize that we are one with God, that God is one with us, then it would change everything. But it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
If the cells, the body, it's still holding to all these, holding on to these traumatic memories. So we can't really move. We can't do much. So yeah, I love, love, love your work, Chelsea. The
Thank
area
you.
that you are in, because we do need help there, and some people they do better that way anyway. They go to science before going to something metaphysical, the spiritual realm. In my case, for some reason, I'm very open to spirituality as something that's more real than this. I guess because my childhood too. I remember when I was, as a child, being abused. I remember going in my backyard and looking at the sky and then looking at the trees. And then I felt so connected to this thing that I had no idea what it was. It looks like it's not talking to me. It's not giving me, like tangible love or anything. But I feel more safe here. And there's something about the sky, the star, nature that just
Oh, yes, I agree.
said something to me powerfully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe that's why I chose to go on that path of spirituality for that reason. Perhaps we never know, right? We never know. I can.
Mm-hmm.
We try to explain everything, like I try to explain. Who knows? It's just yeah. I just have the memories, but I don't know why.
That's my favorite part of working with people is hearing their life
Mm.
story and I see it as putting these puzzle pieces together and we figure it out together and I love it.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful to me. And I know some therapists, they write books even about the
Mm,
stories of their clients, just to, I guess, to show that the connection between, childhood and the way we used to see life, and then how we progressed, how we evolved, and through the storytelling. So, yeah, there is a lot of space for that. It's beautiful. So we are almost at the end. Gosh, and I had way too many questions here to ask you. Let me try. Yes, I'll ask you this one. A simple one is therapy for everyone, Chelsea. Is everyone really a candidate?
I think that everyone could benefit from it if they had an open mind. I
Right.
think everyone should try it. Um, but I think that people can heal in different ways as well. I think it's that openness.
Mm,
Are you willing to try this? And then if it doesn't work, try something else. That's okay.
right. Yeah.
Uh, the most important thing to me is that you feel happy and healed and at peace. And however you find that,
Yeah.
I support that wholeheartedly.
Yes. Yeah. I usually, I know it's something that probably therapists won't use that, but some of them that I have interviewed, they have used that, or they have agreed with me, or used that phrase as well, or the idea that we already whole, coming from a place of wholeness. So knowing that you're not broken, you already essentially you whole. Things have happened that have changed our way of seeing the world in ourselves, but it's just a matter of going back to that wholeness again. And that has to do with childhood again, isn't it interesting? Some people might not have those memories, but I do have the memory of feeling that way, almost like I didn't have a body in the sense, just feeling so
Yes.
connected to everything. Like, oh my God, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden just became a nightmare. But yeah, it's so wonderful that you have children too. So you have, I mean, you were a child one day, so you have those memories too, of course. But
Yeah.
raising children might be very interesting to go back to that place of,
It,
being, feeling so connected to everything, not trying to push anything away and being open and curious. There's something about that it's so healthy, isn't it, Chelsea?
oh, it's just so beautiful. Yeah, and my children have healed me in a way that I didn't know
Mm,
was possible. They were
yeah.
really a catalyst for my healing and personal growth journey. And
Uh,
yeah, it's so wonderful.
yeah, and I can imagine. I have heard that so many times too from mothers. It's so beautiful. So let's see if I have to choose. I do have the ending questions. I want to mention your services. So, individual therapy, couple, family session. So, the your website is feel to heal counseling clientsecure.me. So that will be on the podcast. The video interview will be there on the podcast notes. And then I was reading the approaches. I want to go back to that before I go back to a few more questions. Motivational interviewing and play therapy and logo therapy. So those caught my attention, especially the play therapy. Of course, I love having fun with the whatever it is. There's
Yeah.
something about fun, just being playful with it, not taking it too seriously. So, talk to me about that for a moment, the motivational interviewing approach and play therapy and logo therapy as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So the play therapy is great, especially with children, and it can help so that they can feel comfortable and they can be vulnerable
Yeah.
in a space that isn't so stuffy and serious.
Yeah.
And with children, their play, they will show you what's going on in their
Mm,
life. You don't have to ask them what's going on at home. They will
right.
draw it. They will show you with their toys.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. Um, but I would say I'm very eclectic with what I do.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't go in saying, "Oh, this is the technique or modality I'm going to use." It's I'm going to get to know this person, and then we are going to decide what techniques they want to use, whether that's talk therapy or CBT or somatic sensory or uh, EMDR, whatever it is. It's a I take little pieces from everything that might work
Yeah.
and make some
Yeah.
unique thing for them, which is so fun. I really love doing that.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to be unique to that person. I think that's why a lot of people don't find success uh, because a therapist becomes very rigid
Mm,
in what they do. And, certain techniques are going to work for everyone.
right. Do you use the play therapy for adults too? I have to ask that.
Yes, I do. Yes, is sometimes it's I can't reach them, and so
Uh,
sometimes I'll put on music and just say, "Let's just dance. Just
wow, love that.
get out of your head."
I guess I'll ask this question too. What do you feel is would be the perfect client for you, like a perfect match? People that you can, let's say, perhaps help the most. Would you say? Would you kind of bring it down to a certain kind of people that are going through certain challenges, or you're just open to everyone?
Well, I specialize in trauma, but I am open to everyone, and I think that the best client would be someone that's motivated. I
Mm,
work really well with people that come in and want to put in the work,
yeah.
because it is sometimes, and it's so hard and painful. And
Mm,
I have so much respect for the people that I work with. They are so extraordinary, coming every week and still putting in the work and still trying and talking
mm,
about things that are so painful.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I would say just motivated, willing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's a beautiful place to start. Yeah. I think it's the same thing as being open, but I'm not sure. Is it the same thing? Being open to find truth of our own selves, to
Yeah,
see ourselves honestly.
yeah, yeah. I think it's similar to
Yeah.
to being willing.
Right. Right. To find different ways of being. Right. So my last question for you, we're almost at the end here. I'll ask this one. I'll have your website here, fieldtohealcounseling.clientsecure.me. That will be there. But I want to ask you this question.
Mm.
The same one that I usually ask everyone at the end of the interviews. I have to ask you. And I won't limit to three. So what experiences you wish everyone to have before they die, before they lose the body?
Mm. That internal piece that we talked about,
Yeah.
there's something about it, that head to toe peace.
Mm.
And it's hard to describe, but feeling it is just, it's like nothing else. Um, that would be one. Two would be having a real, vulnerable, deep connection with another human. Not everybody gets to experience that, and that's
True.
so depressing. And to experience unconditional love.
Yes. That was coming. I knew it was coming. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, wow, that's a beautiful one. Yes. I love the way you talked about peace in a way I felt like you were experiencing in that in this moment. You know what that is. Ah, gosh, Chelsea, that's wonderful to have a therapy like you.
Oh,
Because
thank you.
yeah, I mean, it's not a destination, but
Right.
it's just a beautiful place to be aware of that it's there, that exists, that
Mm-hmm.
we can belong to that place.
Yes.
We are actually we are to me we are innately that's where we belong in a place of peace. Thank you so much for being you. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really, really beautiful. So we'll be in touch again. I would love to. And for now, is there anything that you left unsaid? Anything that you would like to end this interview with besides those three beautiful answers to that question?
Just sending you lots of peace and love on your journey and keep going.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Chelsea. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Okay.